When you start daydreaming about all of the amazing things that you're going to make for the first time in a pressure cooker or pressure canner, that excitement might turn to fear when all of a sudden you imagine that pressure cooker exploding in your kitchen. And then your next thought might be, no way, not happening. Pressure cooking is not for me. It's way too dangerous. And you're right, it absolutely can be very dangerous, but so are cars and hoverboards and scissors, right? We just need to know how to operate them correctly. Luckily, you can very easily avoid a pressure cooking disaster if you follow some pretty simple steps. Depending on what you're using this for, it could be called either a pressure cooker if you're putting food directly into the pot and then cooking, or it could be called a pressure canner if you're putting jars of food into the pot in order to kill off any bacteria and seal them. In this video, I'm going to use those two terms interchangeably. Whether you're using it for cooking or for canning, let's quickly review 12 simple tips to stay safe and keep your pressure canner or cooker from exploding. Number 1, this goes without saying, but please read your instruction manual. I know that they can be an absolute bore sometimes, but not all pressure canners are created equally. Also, depending on whether you're cooking in it or canning in it, those sets of instructions may be entirely different. Number 2, inspect your equipment before each use. That means you want to make sure that you've installed the rubber seal or lubricated the metal seal, depending on what style you have. Check for cracks, any type of damage on the interior or exterior of your pot. And then you also want to make sure that if you tip that lid up towards the window and you look through the vent pipe, you can see daylight coming through it. You want to make sure that that vent pipe is not clogged. Number 3, do not overfill your pot. If you're pressure cooking and you have too much food or liquid inside of the pot, it can expand or boil over or even sputter up into the vent pipe. And if that vent pipe gets clogged, that means that the steam is trapped inside the pot. It's going to continue to build and it has to go somewhere, right? So yeah, you might have an explosion, but luckily some pots do have a kind of an emergency pressure relief valve that will go off in the event there's too much pressure in there, too much steam. But the best way to avoid that is just don't overfill the pot. Number 4, if you're pressure cooking, not pressure canning, you want to avoid foods that can foam or froth or even expand quite a bit. And examples of that might be oatmeal, beans, rice, other grains, or even dehydrated fruits and vegetables. If you're incredibly rebellious and you're just gonna do it anyway, I of course have to tell you to not do it. But if you're going to, just make sure that you significantly reduce your measurements of those ingredients to ensure that they don't froth or foam up and clog that vent pipe. Number 5, use adequate amounts of liquid. If you don't use enough liquid, steam can't be produced, and not only will it ruin your food, but it could boil dry and completely ruin your pot. And then of course, if you put too much liquid in there, like we mentioned, you could end up in a situation where you're clogging that vent pipe. Number 6, if you're canning, you want to make sure that you place a rack in the bottom of the pot, and this will help to protect the glass jars. You can also use racks if you're wanting to cook meats or vegetables in your pressure cooker as well. Number 7, make sure you have fully secured the lid. Number 8, use the correct weight based on what it is that you're cooking and your altitude. If you're unsure of what weight to use, refer to an approved recipe, or you can also check out places like the National Center for Home Food Preservation. I've included a link to their website down in the description below. Number 9, frequently monitor your pressure cooker or canner while it's in use. Absolutely do not think for even a moment that you're going to fire up this bad boy and go hit the gym. That's just not even going to happen. You need to monitor this closely. You're going to listen to the weight and make sure that it's jiggling 1 to 4 times per minute. If it's jiggling too many times, reduce the heat. If it's not jiggling enough, then you can simply increase the heat. You also can monitor your pressure gauges if you have them on your canner. And again, if it gets too high, simply reduce, or if it gets too low, just increase the heat. Hopefully you never let it get to this point, but if you know that your pressure canner has heated up, but you haven't seen or heard any steam escaping from the vent pipe, it's possible that it's clogged. So at that point, you would want to immediately turn off the heat and evacuate the room. Don't try to move the pot. You just want to keep it in place, but again, shut off the heat and peace out. Once it is cooled down completely, then you can come back and start diagnosing and even check that vent pipe to make sure that it's not clogged. Number 10, always allow the pressure to release according to the instructions in your manual. You never want to force the release of pressure by removing the weight or removing the lid. Number 11, never move or try to pick up your pressure canner before the canner has had an opportunity to release that steam. Also, if you have a large capacity cooker, just make sure that you're not trying to move it while it's full because it's already heavy enough on its own, let alone once you've added some product into the pot. Number 12, clean your equipment after every use, paying special attention to that vent pipe. Congratulations, with those 12 steps, you should now have the confidence to go pull that cooker out of the closet that's been collecting dust for the last decade, no longer be terrified of it, and put it to good use. However, if you are still feeling a little bit nervous, it doesn't hurt to do a test run. You can simply put 2 to 3 inches of water down in the bottom of your pot, follow all these 12 steps and the instructions in your manual, and fire it up. Just wait and see. You'll see that steam is going to start escaping out of that vent pipe. You can place the weight on it and count the jiggles, adjust the heat up and down accordingly to make sure you're getting that 1 to 4 jiggles per minute, and really just get comfortable with it until you're ready to try out a full recipe. Be safe, have fun with your new hobby, and best of luck.